the hero's journey. This video is going to be a lot more extensive about some of the helper and mentoring area. Again, that's as far as I can go. Beyond that, whoever is on this journey, you take these tools and go on your own. So what I'm doing here is laying out the tools. Again, if you're not familiar with what I'm doing here, there is a template, a pattern self-healing template located in material from antiquity that I've extracted, and I am just teaching it in plain language. I've taken it out of the material, and it appears in Buddhism, Taoism, Judaism, Hinduism, Christianity. This material, when we look at material and think, why are these so similar? This pattern is why. They're not lying, cheating, stealing. We shouldn't be fighting each other. We should be finding the common thread in them, and that's what this is. And I've interpreted it and put it in plain language. My name is Dan Paulson, and welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to really focus on something that is big. When you're deep into the seeking, you're looking for answers. We have fear. We have difficulty forgiving. Right here at this part where it's time to start resolving our issues, we're going to run into snags because we don't know what to do. The material tells us what to do. I'm going to add a little bit to it. You might hear me say things about the brain or memories or electrochemical brain states. That does not come from the material. That comes from modernizing what they were doing as they're healing the soul and doing things like that. We have to translate that into what we can do today, and we know things that they didn't know. So we're adding a degree of understanding to it that allows us to very directly interact with the teachings and self-heal. Okay, first I'll pop the hero's journey, our little graphic back up here, and we are in the large red area, the crossing the threshold. We've already had our call to adventure, supernatural aid. That's a component part of the story. There is no supernatural. What we're doing is learning how to move into the psyche. So we're not going to bring supernatural with us. The area where I am, here you see the mentor and helper. Yep, that's what I'm doing. But that red line right there flashing away, that is fear. I don't think everybody has fear, but absolutely it will be the most difficult thing for those who do have fear. And I do believe most people will have fear of emerging something. If you think of it this way, if you hold something inside of you that you know, it's something you're not going to talk about. It's something that's not going to come out of you for some reason. Shame, hatred, something that's so bad that you're not going to let it out. Probably not hatred, more like shame. Then that's going to be fear. That's going to be difficult to get past. All right, and I mentioned in this video I was going to do fear and forgiveness. Forgiveness is going to come after the fear, so we'll go through the fear barrier first. Some people are probably ready to go right to forgiveness, but here's a sequence. This is another barrier right here. There is a point where you must now enter into another tomb, into a cave, into a deep recess in the stories. And this is that moment where you're going to have to go in with these tools on your own. So let's sit back for a minute and just start here. Think about your fear. Think about what you don't want to talk about. Focus on it for a minute. How does it make you feel physiologically? Okay, step away from it. What we're going to do now is I want to pretend like we are looking at planet Earth from out in space. Let's become a higher self. We have a part of us that is an awareness that we can use as, at least in the imagination, where you can visualize what's going on from outside yourself. You can see planet Earth in the distance with, looks like mold growing on an orange. You know, that's humanity eating up planet Earth. And it's going to, at this point we look and go, yeah, there's going to be an end to that sometime. It's all going to be gone. But right now there's something going on down there. Let's go take a closer look. So you go down and look, and let's go back in time. We see animals emerging. We see the biology of life gradually increasing, and it's very important for life to proliferate, to have certain qualities. It has to reproduce. It has to take over. It has to dominate. It has to do those things. Life has to be that way in order for it to emerge, or it'll fail. It'll fail. It's got to be strong. It's got to be cutthroat. It's got to be able to adapt. Later on, we see humanity beginning to emerge. We'll just jump to a place later on where we can visualize as we're looking at this, that there's a point in time where we are acting out in ways that are still that way. We are developing into humanity, into intelligent beings above where we emerged from. We are developing something different, a sense of awareness that is different, a sense of self, the capacity to feel love and hurt in such significant ways that we begin to feel guilt and things that other animals probably don't feel. That we become very complicated, but that within that complication, we are still those emergent creatures. We're still molesting each other. We're still hurting each other. We're still trying to emerge and outdo each other. And even though there's a part of us in society that says, "Oh, hey, let's quit doing that stuff," what happened? We went from creatures that hunted and foraged, and we're probably busy doing that throughout the day. Survival would have been probably pretty difficult. You're looking for things, you're traveling, food and water, clothing, shelter, keep from being eaten. At some point, we humans, we emerge above that. We are no longer a part of the balance of nature. We are stepping outside of that balance. But we didn't just turn a switch and arrive at someplace new. We are still at the core in our DNA, those animals that are doing those things. So while we are developing our minds to have different value systems, different morals, different judgments, different ways that we treat each other, on the surface you look and it still looks like tribes are fighting tribes. Well, at any rate, we see a mess down there. This is where we're coming from. You arrive on planet Earth at some place. Nobody picks that. Here you are. Welcome to the family. You're somebody somewhere. And whatever that is, you didn't have any choice over, but here it comes. We're a part of that big sea of things going on. We emerge from there. We start off in life. We're not empty when we're born. We have a certain brain quality about us. Introverted, extroverted. There's going to be engineers. There's going to be thinkers. There's going to be artists. There's going to be different people with different qualities of brains. There are going to be almost all of us that are going to want to procreate. You get to a certain age, puberty hits. What do you do? These are animal behaviors. These are things that would keep us emerging on the planet. They're still happening. We treat them like, "Oh my God, you're sinning." Maybe we need to change behavior, but let's not link it with shame. It's nature. We're trying to see how we fit with nature, how we emerge. Where do we come from in life? And who gets this? Who gets this? Stop and leave society there for a minute. Let's go back to planet Earth. Become yourself. Go look at your fear again. What do you don't want to tell people? Think about it. To make your palms sweat. Heart race. Back away from it. What I'm going to do here is we're going to go look at things and come back and keep looking at things and becoming friends with what we don't want to be friends with, what we don't like. The more we hate them, the stronger they become in the manner that we hate them. So we have to change that. We don't like that about ourselves. That's a natural thing. God, I hate the white. And we get stuck there. We have to figure out how to get around that. And the hate is actually not the right thing. There's a way out. All right. So we have mental perceptions. Let's talk about this story for a second. This is a for instance. Think about this. Boy and girl, 2 families, twins or whatever, 10-year-olds, 10, 12-year-olds. In 2 families, mom walks in and catches both kids in both situations playing doctor. And one of them says, "All right, kids, I want you to understand that this is natural and normal things, that this is emergent from the species. We do these things, but we don't today really consider it as proper behavior and whatever." In some manner, it's managed in such a way to make the kids understand and not feel guilt. The next mother can walk in and say, "Oh, you sinners, you are going to go to hell. You should be ashamed of yourself. What are you doing, you filthy little kids?" What happens? What's the difference? 2 of them grow up loving each other and going, "Yeah, we're fine." The other 2 grow up hating each other, having pain, shame, hurt, fear. They got wired into an empty brain when they were young, and they don't know how to interface with it. That's a big important part right there. Somebody gave that to us. What is the fear? Let me talk to myself. I'll be both parts. Watch. I got molested. It's so shameful. I'm not going to tell anybody ever. People will, it's just not going to happen. Now I'm my big self. Really? Why? What's the matter? Well, I'm afraid. Why are you afraid? Is it going to hurt you? Well, it doesn't feel good. Not going to physically hurt me, but no, it doesn't feel good. What's it going to do if you get past it? People might hate me. Why would they hate you? Because I feel bad, because I'm ashamed. Why do you feel ashamed? Because I did something bad. Is it bad? Did you know it? Were you acting it out? Are we stupid people trying to emerge from something bigger? Something less to something bigger? There's a point where our little self or our victim self needs to come out of that victim self status. To see the big picture, to see that this is happening all over, that this is very pervasive in society, and people hide it as best they can, but it acts out. You can see it in society. You can see the hatred and the anger over issues that are shame. They emerge. Are they there? Hell yes, they're there. People have guilt and shame, and they have it so bad that they can't. Not only can they not get past with it, they're going to make sure everybody else is hurt over it too. That's pretty broke. That's what we're trying to avoid for ourselves. We want to get out of that and say, how do I escape that? And as you begin to look at this, you realize that it's a bigger picture. It's not about me and somebody did something to me. It's about, it's a big society. I'm a part of that. I can either stay a little piece of victim in that, or I can emerge above it and say, I'm going to shed that. The fear happens because we think people are going to chastise us. If somebody chastises you for getting over your fear, they've got the same fear. If somebody says, man, I'm sorry, hope you're okay, let's get some coffee, they don't have an issue. They don't have the experience, and they're totally okay with it. They didn't go through that. You might have somebody else, though, that says, I know what you mean. I felt that too. Help me out. Let's talk together. Let's work together. We are taught, trained, and conditioned to shut up, don't look, keep it inside, tough it out. That breaks us. That's the problem. We become sacks of crap. I don't mean it that way. I mean, our thoughts, what we become, how we emerge, who and what we are is a product of the way that we have experienced life and stored away those experiences. And shame is something that links the pain, the fear. What do we have? Fight or flight response. If we're afraid of something, you're going to feel afraid. The fear that you're feeling when you're looking to face this is the same kind of fear that you would feel if a lion was going to eat you. That's what your body has to let you know that it doesn't feel okay. And that's okay. Understanding that and realizing that barrier is there, and that barrier is self-made, that barrier is there because we have been told that barrier better be there. You better shut up. You better not tell anybody. You better be ashamed. And we get wired that way. It's a part of our programming, and we have to know that. We have to realize, I was given something as a kid and I believed it. And I'm experiencing it today. And even though I might believe it differently today, the experience is still happening. Something's got to be interacted with. Okay, straight cut to the chase. Where is the issue currently residing? We've got a brain that's an electrochemical brain. As we have experiences, we decide whether that's good or bad. We put it We store it wherever it goes. It becomes a part of who and what we are. As we're growing, as we're developing, we are becoming those, not the experiences. We are becoming the perception, the continued perception of those experiences. We don't become molested. We become ashamed. We become products of the issues. So we're looking at the emotions, and they're going to be tied to an experience or a series of experiences. So it's basically something happened. Here's how you felt about it. You cannot change what happened. But how you feel about it is continuing to act out and play out and cause your current course of life. So logically, what do? The only thing you can do is change the way you think about it. We have to go back and Jesus would say, forgive. The Hermetics would tell you to transmute. We're changing the energy from one state to another state, which is going to change the way our life unfolds. That's what we're looking to do. So we can see a very specific part there that needs to happen, that is what is causing our individual issues. I got a story. Let's go back out in space and look down there. Zero in someplace. Take a look at something down there. There's a little girl down there that is being whipped with a belt. She's screaming and crying. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. She doesn't even know what she did. And she's being told, shut up or you'll get more. Shut up, you won't get more. And she's being whipped and whipped and whipped. And this happens routinely. And in between the whippings, she is degraded, belittled, and demeaned, and told what a worthless little piece of crap she is. That she'll never amount to anything. She's being told this as a little girl crying, taken to the woodshed, pants being taken down, and then also being molested. That happens to a lot of little girls. Probably a lot of little boys. All right, we'll step away from that. Back away. We get caught up in those, don't we? Because we have compassion and because we have those stories. We connect with them. We need to know this is a bigger thing. And that was my mom. She could never figure it out. So she whipped us because there was something acting out in her that she couldn't get a hold of. And it's important for me to understand that there's a cause and effect, a sequence. And there's a point where if we don't get a hold of these things, we become we become a blend. We become the things we hate and the things we love. We want to do one thing, but other things come out. And these other things coming out are the things that we need to change the way we perceive them. And not many people can. And those that find the way, we should rejoice. It's been 1 year today since my mom died. And she never could figure this out. She was so frail and broken when she passed. And I love her and I thank her for giving me this opportunity. She was living out as a human like we all do. We're looking to emerge. We're looking to become something different. We can't stay victims. We have to see that there's a bigger sequence of things going on. It didn't just start with us. We're in line. We're trying to get out of line. The pain, the shame, the hurt, the fear in communicating is what keeps us from getting there. My mom had fear. Not until she was a frail old woman and I sat her down and said, I'm going to talk to you, Mom, was I able to very carefully extract some things from her that helped me understand a lot in life. But we all need to understand that we're in similar processes like that. Why would we think we're somehow different? We're emergent from society and the cosmos and civilization, and here we are. And we need to understand that it's a bigger picture than our emotional selves. Our emotional selves, however, are in place because of because of our life experiences. How do we extract? I'm saying things here that what do we do with it? What do we do with it? First of all, you have to, right now, the fear. You got to be able to get past the fear. The forgiveness, I covered that one as well, sort of. Look at the big picture. You can forgive easier when you realize, oh, my mom didn't have me just so she could beat me. She had me because she's instinctually having children, and then she's acting out the demons in her closet because she can never make friends with them. Bingo. That's all there is to it. We hold ourselves so freaking important that we can't let that go and go, I'm fine. I'm fine. Molestation. I'll be the two parts again. How do you feel about that now? Well, it doesn't bother me anymore. How come? Wasn't that a bad thing? Men had at you. Whew, come on. How proud of you are that? I'm not proud over it. It's not that. It's that I understand that I have to look at it differently. No, I don't think it's okay. And no, I don't want that to happen. But I can't continue to live my life carrying hatred and shame, because that hatred and shame causes me to act out in ways that I don't want to. Because I don't like it, but I'm keeping it inside of me, so I have to get it out of me so that it quits. And I know that I was a teenager runaway, was probably going to die if I didn't, would have, who knows what. You got taken off the streets, you got fed, you got a place to eat, you got cleaned up, is that the best way to do it? Buddy, you're born in a cesspool. You're trying to get out. You're going to have to walk through some cesspool before you get out. Be proud of the trip. You're making it. It happened. Don't let it dictate your life. And if you ignore it and if you hate it, it will dictate parts of your life. You have to be okay with it enough to be able to, you hear me talk about it. That's because I want to demonstrate. You see where I'm emotional, what I'm not okay with, and when I talk frankly about things that are hurtful, I'm obviously okay with them to the point that they don't bother me anymore. And I understand that it is incredibly common. We shouldn't think we're alone. What else can I think of here? What do we need to do to go face our fears? Okay, now while we're talking about this, I also want to kind of clarify something I've said, and that is that we have become those experiences. And that is only in the beginning. That is what we think, that is what we perceive, because we live within those experiences. If you were to do shadow work that was covered by Jung, the psychology, what is in there that's this dark stuff that we're not sure why it emerges all the time. Or if you're a fan of Eckhart Tolle, like I am, the pain body. But what it really is this massive life experience that you hold on to and give credibility to, that we live through. And when you realize that as you're looking at it from outside, that really you're this person. You're not the experiences. The experiences are not who you really are. They're just your experiences. You're up here. You're this person. You got to reach down into that world and pull yourself out. Well, I can think of a good story for myself. A couple of things that I want to talk about. Number one is that my wife and I, we've had clashes sometimes. You trigger, and then days go by. You're kind of sore and tender about it. Don't talk very much. And a number of times that goes by, and I'm realizing, okay, there's a cycle here that's happening. I'm getting triggered. Something's happening. I want to interface with it. So I'm thinking about it and trying to process it. And I'm trying to understand what is it that the trigger is. It's always about this issue. Okay, so I'm going to follow that in. What happened to me in my past that makes me tender and sensitive over this particular issue? And you work it out and you resolve it. And I'm going through this, and it's 3 or 4 days, and I finally approach my wife and say, "Sweetheart, I think I got this figured out. I want to talk to you about something." And she's like, "You this, you that, you." And the first reaction I had was like, come on, I'm trying to bare my soul here. Why are you so mean to me? I'm still inside my own ego, not getting that I've been sitting here for 3 days processing this, working it out in my mind, while for 3 days she's been sitting there thinking, why did he do that to me? I needed to learn to shut up and let her have her peace. And not long after that, we stopped, the whole triggering quit. Once we went through it, figured it out, looked at it, examined it, saw the source, realized what was going on. Understanding things makes them much easier to manage. You can interact with them. Most of this is interactive. It is all mentally interactive. So when you stand back from it, it's a scary monster. When you go look at it and pick it apart and, look at everywhere, wherever, look at it from every possible angle until you go, it's just a thing. It's just some energy. It's just a frequency. It's just a vibration. It has to be transmuted. But I am so caught up in my own human feelings and emotions that I struggle to do that. Know that that is what is going on and that conflict is going to be there. There's something else, depending on who you are. I might be driving with my wife and we see a driver do something crazy and she might be like, oh, I wonder why he did that. And I would be like, well, that was a stupid thing. Why do we both instantly react from such different places? Why wouldn't I say, I wonder why they did that? When we're born, we have those basic things, our drives, the brain structure, those sorts of things that I've talked about a little bit. But then as we begin to have life experiences, we begin to wire who and what we are is appearing in neural pathways that are slowly, these are organic connections that our brain is making. How freaking amazing is that? But slowly these are happening and they strengthen. The more we practice them, they get better, bigger and bigger and bigger. Driving, at first you don't do very well. After a while, you can do it almost with your eyes closed. Well, you can do it without thinking about it. You can drive across country and not really pay attention because you're so good at it. You're so wired into it. That's how we work. We wire into everything. So when you're raised and you remember from early on hearing things like, knock it off, get out of there, you kids shut up, you're stupid. That becomes your basic wiring. That's your go-to when you react. And you go, oh, that's why I'm an asshole when I do that. I don't mean to be. I don't want to be. People would look at you and go, why? What'd you do that for? What'd you say that for? I don't know. Yeah, that's why. We got wired that way. And knowing that and understanding that helps you interact with it and helps that change as well. Knowing that, recognizing, observing, self-observing, watching what you do and asking yourself, why do I do that? Why do I do that? And being with somebody who's patient enough to understand that that's what you're going through. And it's going to be repetitive and they might get tired of it. Well, anyway. Okay, man, I've told you my story to make sure everybody sees the procedure and the effect and all of that sort of thing, but I want to say a couple things. Number one, I'm not a psychologist. I'm interpreting ancient texts. They're teaching us how to do this. Number two, if you go to a psychologist and you pay and you work and you work and you finally get something resolved, you've changed that brain state. You can just go change the brain state. Except that it's emotionally difficult. You can get help, but you know that that's what you're doing. If you go get help, you know that instead of spending a long time struggling through this, you know what you're trying to do is change the way you perceive something that happened. You can approach it much faster. Another thing is that people have had all kinds of experiences. People might hear mine and say, buddy, oh, you got spanked and told you were bad. Wow. I was raised where, so-and-so raped me repeatedly throughout, years or something like that. Things that were not my experiences. And I understand that. What I do want to say is that the problem that we have in life is the way that we perceive our experiences, regardless of what those experiences are. Somebody could have a very small thing happen that most of us would think, well, that's not a big deal. They could feel so horrible about it, it will affect their life. It depends on how you hold it. You could let it go and it's like, well, it doesn't affect my life anymore. What? That's it? Yeah. But it's not easy because it's hurtful. But that's exactly what it is. When you go in to look at your things, you have to forgive and you have to be able to communicate. And the measure of your success in resolving things, to me, is my capacity to communicate about it in a manner that doesn't affect me emotionally anymore. That I could talk about it in a more matter-of-fact way. That doesn't mean that I'm not affected by it. It means that I'm no longer hurt by it in a manner that is derogatory. I now understand it in a way that is beneficial, that helps me change my life. Oh, another thing, and this is important, that when we've had bad things happen to us and we store it away that way, we're understanding and realizing that we need to go back and interact with that and change the way we feel about it. Sounds perfect. Sounds good. However, as we go on in life, we may have minor things happen, little stuff trigger, different things that are happening that just for some reason, I don't know why that's happening. As we are little and we're being affected by life in such a manner that we are storing away something that is going to have to be examined later, hurtful things that might not be too severe. I mean, I can remember as a little kid feeling like, oh, nobody likes me. Recess in school and stuff, being picked on, being bullied. It was part of the part of the process. And I really felt bad about myself. And I had to go back actually and I had to go back in my imagination and see my little self. Oh yeah, there I am sitting there going, boo-hoo, oh, woe is me, that little kid. That got stored too. And even though later I'm going, okay, I'm an adult, I got this, everything is okay, I can let all that stuff go, something is still triggering out because you've actually just said it's okay while leaving in the initial issue. If that happens, if it emerges, be aware of that there might still be vestiges of memories that you've got tucked away someplace that just need to be addressed. You take that higher self, you go back and you address your original self. I would go back and bring my little boy self along and say, hey, you know what? You got a lot in store. You wait and you see what happens. You'll be okay. You're just simply updating that memory because it's still existing under those terms. It'll show up if it's there. You'll see it. Just be aware that if something's happening, don't deny it. Look at it and go, oh, where's that coming from? Where in my past is something's trying to let me know it's there. The brain is said to have elasticity. It's malleable. It isn't fixed. There are parts that are fixed, but there are parts that can be changed. And that is exactly and precisely what we're looking to do right here. I was going to make a point and I can't remember what it is right now. So I'm just going to blabber for a minute and see if it returns to me. Something about the brain. Oh, those neural pathways, they grow slowly. If you're growing new neural pathways, they will grow slowly. These are not on-off switches. They won't just change like that. You have to work at it a little bit. Sometimes you can change a perception very quickly. You can just see the light and go, oh, I was wrong. I got that. Okay. And it can change that quick. There are other times it'll be like, oh my God, really? I got to let him off the hook? You serious? You sure? It might take a long time in those cases for it to work. It's not always going to be real quick. Stick with it and know that that's the way it is. Obviously, with the brain, as we're making changes, we're not always growing new neural pathways. What we're doing is changing the existing neural pathways from ones that are of one energy to another kind of an energy. We're transmuting them. We're forgiving. We're transitioning. We're not dumping out and then reprogramming. However, there might be new programs that we do want to make, and that will take time. So we might want to be forming new habits or new things that we realize, oh, this is much better than what I had been doing in the past. And it just making the decision to do it, you still have to wire that as well to get good at it. So understand that being eager one day might not mean being eager about it a week later. So stick with it. At any rate, I don't know what else to put in to this as far as helping out with the preparation. If anybody has any questions, specific questions, please feel free to ask. I'm not sure what to cover. These are things when I approached this, I didn't have this knowledge. I just knew that I had so much, that I had something trapped inside of me that I wanted to get out. And I went ahead and it was very scary to me, it was, but I went ahead and did it. I didn't know to go look at it, to look at the big picture, to, all of those things. I did it from my victim self. But with these tools, you can look at it from a higher self. You can become more comfortable with it so that it can be approached in a more gentle manner. And some people have, I was able to talk about things. There are people that have been so hurt they can't even remember what it is. They might have to do something else first, or try to figure out why some behavior is happening that they can't remember what happened, even why. All of those might be component parts and then some. I'm just one experiencer. So, and I'm sure my experience is limited as well. I have no doubt. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful. If I can think of something else, I will. I don't know if I'm going to keep approaching the hero's journey, this part of it. I think the next thing I want to do with the hero's journey is go ahead and I'll run us through the Argonautica. Time to bring it on board. I'm trying to get everybody on board with this process because I want everybody to see that Genesis is the hero's journey. It's framed on this same teaching right here. It is framed on this exact same teaching. I hope this was helpful. Love one another, and I'll see you in the next video.